This took place when I was 21. I was a really pretty woman, but wasn't someone you'd consider smart. You'll understand why. Despite being 21, I looked 17 and wore lazy pink clothes. I usually travel to malls every now and then to spoil myself. I was on a bus heading to the mall, and this old man, somewhere in his 50s I think, hops on and sits near me. We get there, and as we got off, we're walking side by side now. He's pretty close to me, where I could almost smell him. Anyways, this guy doesn't exactly greet me from what I recalled, but instead, he looks at me and says something. It sounded as if he had some other motive, the way he was walking and not making any direct eye contact with me. It was only a few words though, and I'm usually friendly, so I began talking to him. We eventually started sitting in front of a Starbucks that was inside the mall, and my problem was that I trust people way too easily. I've been hurt many times before because of it, but I still don't learn my lesson, I guess. Anyways, the guy pulls out a badge, and it's a cop badge, or a detective badge. I wasn't sure. I thought it was real at first, but I looked closer, and I noticed that it was a badge from a TV show that my dad used to watch. I was shocked and started to feel nervous as I thought I was in trouble and started thinking of all the bad things I've done in the past. He laughed at me and seemed to get carried away with his laughter, saying something like I didn't do anything. He introduces himself finally and gives me a fake name sometime after that. I was still in shock and in fear because I wasn't too sure at the time. At some point, I let him talk to my boyfriend, who is now my ex, on the phone. My ex was kind of controlling, and I had the sort of personality type where I would just say yes to outsiders. It was usually due to some fear of the outsider being rejected in some way. My ex decided to talk in a more masculine voice. The two seemed to respect each other, and I would always tell my ex about the things I would feel worried about. Later, the old man offered me a bit of his coffee, and I sipped a tiny bit, but I forgot that coffee usually makes me more thirsty. Thus, we went into a smoothie place where he got me an orange smoothie.
Here, let me write my signature,
he says, and writes something on the receipt he receives from the girl at the cash register after he orders. I turn away for a bit, just casually looking around, and when I turn back around, I noticed him spilling something into the drink, or at least tried to. It was some sort of powder substance. What's that? I ask him.
It's sugar,
he says. He seems a bit off and frustrated. He gives the drink to me, and my stupid self actually takes a sip. I know, I'm really stupid, as I mentioned earlier. I was one of those people who had a hard time saying a simple no to anyone. I took it because I didn't want to make him look bad, and I didn't want to waste the drink. Thank you, I said, and took another sip. I started to quiver even more. He asked me a question a bit after, but I can't remember what I answered. I knew that I was trying to remain positive. I just remember my vision slowly starting to fade and everybody's voices was starting to echo. He then went past someone who greeted him with a different name. After a short bit, he starts to walk me in the back of the mall. I started to feel a bit sleepy and losing my balance. We make it out and gently puts me down on the floor to sit for a bit. Last thing I remember was him looking at me and saying,
I'll be right back,
before finally dropping my head and my vision going completely black. Time passes. I can tell it's been a few hours as I look out and see that it was starting to get dark. I'm behind the man to what I believe is his car, my head laid against the window, and I quietly panic. I didn't want him to know that I woke up, so I remained quiet and calm as possible, trying to figure out how to get out of this situation. Do I let him know I woke up? Do I call the police? Then he will hear me. We're in a main street, so there's no way he would chase me in front of everyone. He had music playing, not that loud, but loud enough where I was able to slowly unbuckle my seatbelt without him noticing. He stops at a red light, and that's when I unlock the door and start running for my life. I ran for a few seconds and went up to this car and banged on the driver's side window, screaming, "Help me, please!" This guy gets out of the car and I'm just sobbing in tears. He tells me to get in his car, and as I do, I hear the old man starting to yell at the guy that I belong to him. He yells back,
"Go fuck yourself."
The light turns green, so we start moving. I told him that the man drugged me back in the mall and that I didn't know where he was taking me. This guy told me that he was going to take me to the police station, which wasn't far. Once dropping me off, he went inside and told the police what happened. The police took our statements and an officer drove me to my boyfriend's place. I didn't know if that old man was ever caught or if he got someone else. My boyfriend got mad at me and called me all sorts of names for weeks because of it. You can see now why we aren't together anymore. Anyways, moral of the story, don't be stupid and learn from my story. Never, and I mean never, accept drinks from strangers. It should be common sense, but if I was dumb enough to do it, there might be others who would carelessly do the same. Please, I beg of you to listen. And as for the guy who saved me, I hope God rewards you wherever you are. One day, my husband and I decided to go to the mall with our son. Everything was going great, but then our son needed his diaper changed, so we had to stop for a little bit. So, we walked to the restroom to get this done. Now, just to let you know, the restrooms for the mall are down at the end of a long hall hidden between a Dairy Queen store and another department store. It's not even 5 feet wide for people to scoot by you and such, so it is very claustrophobic. But the worst part has to be the fact that the men's and women's restroom are right across from each other. My husband had to use the restroom as well, so while he did, I went to the women's and changed our son's diaper. Once I got done, I decided to just stay kind of next to the women's restroom entry and wait for my husband to come out. After about a minute or two, 3 large men who were much older than me came out. I didn't think anything of it at first since there was a reservation nearby, but then I noticed they were hanging around where I was. I didn't want to be rude, so I just gave them a little smile. Big mistake. As soon as I did, they started to come over and started talking to me, saying things like,
"Oh, what a pretty lady.
And
You got a nice body there."
I instantly started to feel panicked and weirded out. I was holding my son super close to me, super tight, scared that they might go after him and try to separate us. I kept thinking my husband has to come out soon. Now, I would have just went back in the women's restroom, but one of them stepped in the way of the door, so I couldn't. I could tell they were starting to surround me, so I couldn't leave or move. As they started to close in on me, my husband came out of the restroom and yelled, "What the fuck is going on?" He didn't attack the men, but made sure he got his point across. The 3 men gave me one nasty look and walked away. To this day, I'm not sure what would have happened if either I would have been there by myself or there with only my son. It's not my safety that I was so worried about, but more about my son. It still scares the living hell out of me just thinking about it. This happened a few years ago. I'm a female, 16, and was a junior in high school. Every Friday, my 2 friends, Daisy and May, both 16, and I would always hang out at the mall. We would mainly walk around, hang in the food court, look at clothes that we can't afford, and if I had any money, I would go on a shopping spree. We always went right after school as the mall was about 15 minutes away of a walk from my school. And going that direction, we would pass by Daisy's house, so we would drop off our backpacks there and continue our way. We get there, and the mall always had security guards, and we noticed there was a new one. He looked around like in his late 20s to early 30s. He had a belly and short hair. Since we were there a lot, we were familiar with all the security guards and knew them by their names. This new guy was standing by the entrance, so me being polite, I waved at him and said hi with a big smile. He looked at me confused, and then that confused look turns into this odd and uncomfortable smile. I obviously didn't think much of it. I just thought maybe he was a bit awkward and I caught him by surprise. We go around in the food court, sit at a table deciding what we want to eat. As we sit there for a few minutes, Daisy was talking and then she pauses and looks behind me. I turn around and it's the same security guard standing there, maybe a few inches away from me. Me still wanting to be polite, I say hi to him again.
What are you girls up to today?
We're just deciding what to eat.
That's nice. My name is Jordan, by the way.
Hi, Jordan. My name is Kelly. I was nervous, but I wasn't too weirded out, as the rest of the guards usually talk to us when it's boring, and the day still being early, it was still fairly quiet. Not to mention he is new, so I thought maybe he was already comfortable with us and wanted to make his shift go by faster by talking to us for a bit. Still, to just casually walk up to us, staring at us without even saying a word, I was already feeling a bit uneasy, but I didn't want to cause a scene, nor let my paranoia get the best of me. He continues to stand there just looking around, but still pretty close to me. I texted both Daisy and May saying that he is really weird, which they responded agreeing, so we decided to get up and go get some of our favorite Chinese food. As we are in line, May comes up with the idea and says we should move to another table that's away from him. We got our food and went to a table on the other side of the food court, far away from Jordan. Few minutes into eating our food, May looks up from eating, lets out a loud gasp before choking on her food. Daisy starts slapping her back, trying to get her to cough it up. I was scared. I asked if she was okay. Then it hits me. I slowly turn my head and there he fucking was. Jordan was standing behind me and this time he was even closer. He's smiling. Looking at that smile made me want to throw up the food I just ate. I don't think it was a smile that grossed me out. It was the fact that I knew he was just following us. Me being really mad because now of him scaring not only me, but my friends, I ask him in a very passive-aggressive tone. What do you want?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. I just wanted to know what beautiful girls like yourself would be eating. I'll be going now.
Beautiful girls? We clearly looked young, so for him to even say that was just really weird and unsettling. We ate the most we could, but we mostly had lost our appetite after that scare. We decided to start walking around the mall and go to our favorite stores to check out what clothes would look good on us. We go to 2 different stores, and as we start walking out, we see Jordan right outside the store. He noticed that we saw him, so he starts looking around like he's doing his job, but we know exactly what he was trying to do. We walk to the next store and just wander around trying to see if this is going to continue because we were really starting to feel scared. My heart just races every time I see his face. As we go to the next store, we see that he's outside now, but further away from the entrance. We could see that he's still pretending like he's doing his job, but we knew what he was doing. We would catch him looking straight at the entrance of the store, here and there, seeing if he can see us inside. We're hiding behind those round clothing racks. Then he takes another glance inside the store, and I swear on everything, our eyes connected. I go back to hiding. I just wanted to cry. I couldn't stop shivering. I was just so scared. My friends decided that it's best to go home. Maybe next week he will leave us alone. We speed walk out of the store, and all 3 of us called our parents to pick us up. It's already dark out, so we didn't feel comfortable walking back to my friend's house even if it was close. We're back in front of the mall. Daisy gets picked up, and then my mom arrives to pick me up, so now it's May all alone. As I'm getting in my mom's car, it just came through my mind that we could give her a ride home. May lives across town, but given the situation, it shouldn't even matter how far she lives. However, May declined. It may be dark outside, but there were a lot of people outside, and she said she wanted to enjoy the fresh air before locking herself in her room and think about what just happened. I thought it was dumb, but what's the worst that could happen? Well, minutes later, she texted me that Jordan was outside and started to talk to her. Long story short, this weirdo kept asking her for my Instagram, Snapchat, my number, just about anything so he can contact me. She told him to fuck off. As she got in her dad's car, she stuck her tongue out and gave him the finger. And next Friday, all three of us were together during lunch talking about if we should even go to the mall. We hoped he wouldn't be there or he would leave us alone, but we figured if it happens, we will report this creepy fuck. I had money given by my parents because I aced a few of my exams, so I really wanted to go and buy new clothes. So, we ended up going. We walk inside and so far so good. We made it to a few stores without any problems. As I made my purchase, we walk out and look who's there a few feet away. We walk the opposite direction of where he's at. Daisy turns around and he notices that he's now walking in our direction. May just says, "Fuck this." She walks up to him screaming, telling him to leave us alone and to stop following teenage girls and do his job of being a security guard, not a fucking mall creep. Everyone in the mall that was near stops walking and just stare both at May and Jordan.
Sorry. I was just checking if you girls were safe.
I never seen her yell or get mad like that. She was one of those soft-spoken girls. You can just tell this creep really brought the worst out of her. He left us alone, and that was that. 3 weeks go by, and we go back to the mall for the first time since that incident. We saw one of the security guards that we knew and told him what happened. Well, he said that Jordan was fired just shortly after May yelled at him. Some of the people reported it, and what do you know? We weren't the only ones making complaints about him. Turns out, he was following a lot of other girls. Old, young, it didn't even matter. He would follow them and ask them out for dates. He even said he had a bad feeling when he first started, but didn't let that think the worst out of him. Not only was Jordan fired, but he was banned from the mall. That made us feel so much better. It's been a few years now, and we still haven't seen him, and I hope to God we never see him again.